Okay. Review. I had another idea of something I wanted to do that wasn't a review. Maybe I'll do it. But I think sometimes it's important to do things when you're really feeling it. But I still might do it anyways, because apparently that is good also. Alright, so The Perfect Neighbor. On Netflix, I've been passing it and I've been wanting to watch it. But sometimes I'm trying to keep the mood light and well. I don't want to watch anything too crazy. But lately, I've been getting more on the track of F it, I want to, It's not like, oh, I shouldn't, but that's what makes me, so I think I'm going to. But, alright, so I couldn't find anything again. So I passed it, I was like, I want to watch it. I also passed something else that I wanted to watch, but I was kind of in a interesting place, so I was like, I should probably watch this, because the other one might be kind of weird to watch right now, truthfully. I'm not going to explain why. But, so, I was, don't want to enable any weird things in my head. So I guess I still am kind of going down that track. But, so I clicked it because I've been wanting to watch it. I didn't know what it was going to be about exactly. So, but as I'm watching it, okay, so there's this lady, and she lives in a duplex, or like a quadplex, whatever it's called. And then there's houses across the street. So, okay, the kids from across the street are going over to her house, because there's a big plot of grass around it, but it's not all her grass, because there's a neighbor in the plex right next to her, so, and there's two more on the other side, but their two are facing that. So the cops would come, because she would call the cops. The landlord to her place put signs. He said, this is the best I can do, like no trespassing, which now that I say it, it's pretty interesting. It says no trespassing, so even though the whole thing isn't hers, whatever. But this was the main thing in my head. All right, so they would go over there, they would play. She would get mad, because her front porch is right there, her window, whatever. She would call the cops would come. I felt like they weren't really handling the situation right, at all. And I felt like every single person on the street was antagonizing her, and then I got halfway through and I was kind of it hit me. I was like, what the heck? You guys all have large plots of grass, I mean, from the body cams of the officers, they're standing in your yard talking to you, and I'm looking and there's a huge plot of grass, and I'm like, that's not even your backyard. Do you have backyards too? You know what I mean? You have a yard, you have space all to play, so you guys are going over there specifically. Maybe you went over there to play, but there's no reason to go over there to play, because you have a yard, and you probably have a backyard. So, pretend you were going over there to play football. If someone came by and was like, I don't want you playing football in front of my yard anymore, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, because you still have a place to go do that at, all right? That's still in your house. It's not oh, go find a place, down the street where your parents can't see you or something, but you can still play in an area where you can be supervised, So the fact that you keep going over there, is messed up. And then, the neighbor next to her was like, yeah, I said that they could, I'm like, so it's just bringing down, her ability even more. Everyone on the street was just calling her crazy and stuff. But I was like, I kind of understand her, It's kind of you do have a point, and You know, everyone's just antagonizing you, you know? Like, and then, you know, I mean, things were done. People were calling the cops on both sides, you know, and then it ended up really crazy because she ended up killing somebody. So then in the interview, you know, after the killing, she was like, I don't think that she set it up this way, but I do believe it gave her a perfect opportunity in order to do that, you know, like almost like doing things when it's time, you know, as I was even saying in the beginning of this video, you know. So it's not like going out of your way to do something, but it's like the opportunity presented itself and you felt that you were able to do this. She ended up going to jail. I didn't think the girl was gonna die because it said that she got shot in her right chest, and I was like, put your left hand over your heart. Okay, your heart's over here, so your right side is not even your heart. So if you, no, she got shot in the right side of her shoulder, so I didn't think she was gonna die. But then I guess she did die, you know. The lady went to prison. See, I don't really know if that was right, you know, because I when they were interviewing her, it's like every part of her story, you know, when they came back to double interview her, you know, when they come back and they throw you off, you know, to see if there's any breaks in the story. There was no breaks, but there was one little break, and it was like they were like, okay, you called us at 7:59, all right, and you said that by the time that you shot the woman that 20 minutes had passed. When she's like, but when you called back to let us know that you had shot somebody, 2 minutes had only passed, you know. So that did make her look a little bit bad, you know, like almost like she didn't set it up to kill this person, but she knew what she was doing when she killed this person. She said, oh, I felt like it was this amount of time. That's how it felt, you know, blah, blah. That was not really believable, you know. So that was a flaw in the story. But I was a little bit shocked because, I mean, so I saw a comment that said she almost played a perfect game. And I was like, yeah, she did, you know, like not intentionally, but it all lined up that way, you know. So I felt like, you know, because there was protests and stuff, you know, because she wasn't in jail at first. But I felt like, all right, that they focused really hard on the one flaw instead of everything else that lined up, which I felt like it's almost like they knew what they were going to do regardless of everything. You know, it wasn't a good balance. It was kind of like, all right, I could see you maybe sentencing this person, but then I read she got sentenced to like 25 years. I was like, that's a long time for manslaughter. Like, I'm pretty sure that that's where you get sentenced, when you get sentenced to life. Like, I was like, all right, manslaughter, probably be like 10 years, you know, maybe. But then I saw it was 25 years, and I was like, that was crazy. But that whole show was crazy because I just felt like it was fucked up. Like, I don't think she should have handled it that way, but it was just handled incorrectly, you know, all the time by the officers, and then, you know, around all these people who are just like, this is the highlight of their day, bothering you, you know, like it's like poking, prodding, like, and everyone's treating you as if you don't have a point, you know. It's like, I would never take it to that level, but she did, the lady. But I just felt like it was kind of messed up, you know, how, like, she had a point, but it wasn't being, like, settled, you know? Like, they were kind of, like, dismissing her all the time. And then they were telling the people that they were antagonizing her, like, sometimes they would be like, yeah, you know, just stay out of there. You know, they weren't really getting the message across to her. They were dismissing her. And then they were not holding, you know, the infiltrators accountable, you know, for their behavior, you know. So it just escalated. And that's it. I am shocked that she got so many years. I feel like that was more for show than really what it should have been. But that's my take on that.